from Bad Moms Do It Better. I have my very first and my most precious guest here, Miss Lex. I call her Lex because that is actually what's on her Facebook. It's Lex Marie, and she has her own YouTube. So if you want to go ahead and say your YouTube and Instagram.
So my YouTube is Life of Lexury, Lexury.
Okay, now.
And my, what is it? What was the other one?
Instagram, yeah. What's your IG?
Reckless_thinking.
Reckless_thinking. Okay, so we are actually here to kind of have a girls talk. We're going to sit here and talk a little bit. She is going to kind of give us the deep and the raw and the real about her life and her journey and how far she's made it. For a lot of people who don't know, she's actually becoming very successful in YouTube and Instagram, as well as in cosmetology. So she knows how to rock it. Any makeup tips and stuff like that, definitely hit her up and ask her for it. So I just want to thank you for coming and being brave enough to come and talk with me about this. I take that as an honor.
Still scared.
Yeah. We definitely have all the snacks out, so as we kind of sit back and get comfortable, we just kind of wanted to invite you guys in on our journey of talking here. So I guess I kind of want to just start off by saying, you know, can you tell us a little bit of like where you grew up?
Okay, so like place or like
yeah,
how?
like place, and then we'll kind of get into how.
So I grew up like till I was 5 in Maryland with my parents, and then I was kind of bounced around to a few family members as I grew up, and then I ultimately ended up with my grandparents. And from there on, they couldn't take care of me anymore, so then I went to a boarding school, and then, yeah, it's just a lot.
Was the boarding school, like, what city and state were you in when you...
I was in Pennsylvania.
You were in Pennsylvania?
Yeah.
So you went from, like, Maryland to...
Maryland to Pennsylvania, then I stayed in Pennsylvania for a while, and then somehow I ended up in Ohio, too.
What city in Ohio? Do you want to claim the city first off?
No. No. But, yeah, and then I ended up here in Wisconsin, and now I'm in Texas. So
Houston, right?
Yeah, just a lot of bouncing.
She's representing for H-Town. For anybody who knows me knows
Right.
I'm from Houston, Texas. So H-Town all day, y'all. It's the place to be. Are you happy in Houston?
Yes. I'm so happy in Houston.
How would you say, like, culture-wise it is versus here?
People are just so much nicer there. Like, they're just more genuine. Like, people are more, like, willing to, like, just help you when they don't even, like, know you. Which, like, versus here, it's like, people put their faces in their phones,
like,
walking
don't
down
look
the
at
street.
me.
Like,
Yeah.
don't talk to me. I don't want to associate. Like,
Yeah.
but over there, it's like, people are, like, just it's just really nice. It's just
awesome.
Yeah.
It's always nice to hear when people have good feedback. I have heard negative feedback every now and then, and I'm like,
Yeah,
you didn't go to the
too.
right part of Houston. But yeah,
Right.
for sure. So, early on, you kind of said that you kind of bounced around a little bit. Do you want to kind of like jump into that just a little bit, or?
Yeah. So when I was younger, I grew up with addicts for parents. So life was not typical. I didn't have the normal childhood.
What is normal though? Like when we think
Right.
about normal, there's no normal childhood. Girl.
Right.
Like there isn't. Like my whole childhood was dysfunctional as hell.
Yeah, but I didn't really understand how really like not okay it was until I was older. Whenever people started telling me like, yeah, my dad used to come on my games, and like I'm like, oh, well, can't relate.
What do you say like a memory of like, so both your mom and dad were addicts then at the same
Yeah.
time? Okay, so
Yeah.
that had to be difficult, Lex. Like that really had to be really difficult.
Like a lot of people say they can't like really remember like being that young, but I feel like I had so many traumatic events that I vividly remember certain things. Like
I feel the same way. I can remember at a very early age certain
I feel like I remember stuff from like when I was 2. Like that is just ridiculous. Like,
do you think that you would feel comfortable possibly saying something that happened that was kind of traumatic that you do remember? Like, what is your earliest traumatic memory that you do have that was kind of like,
This
holy
one
shit, that's
time,
not normal?
I remember being put in the bathroom of a motel, like with it was this stuffed bunny that I loved, and I could only ever take one toy with me everywhere we went, because we went from hotel to hotel, to family member's house, to friend's house, to this place and that place, and I always had this stuffed bunny, and I was just in there just talking to my stuffed bunny, but like I could hear like crashing and like stuff being thrown and like them screaming at the top of their lungs and like bottles hitting the wall and like stuff like that, and I'm just like in there like nothing is like even going on, just talking to my bunny. And then I think back to that moment and I'm like, wow, like kids are so innocent, like that is just not okay. Like,
and you didn't even know what was going on.
Yeah.
Like, if you could, at your age now, remembering that and what was going on, what would you think was going on outside of that door?
Oh, they were messing each other up big time.
They were fighting.
Oh yeah, they were definitely, yeah. I still remember this one time when my mom cracking a bottle over my dad's head, like stuff like that. There was a time where my mom made us sleep all night outside under a tree because they were fighting, like stuff like that.
And I mean, and honestly, like, truth be told, like when your addiction, it also affects emotionally how you handle things.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So normally what a parent wouldn't normally do during an argument, that changes when you are under the influence, or if you've already been under the influence for so long, you're emotionally changed in a different way.
Okay.
So do you remember, were you afraid in the bathroom, or were you just kind of like,
No.
oh, that shit's like normal?
It's like normal.
Yeah.
It's like, well, this is what always happens. So
Yeah. Did family members ever, like when you guys were hopping from house to house, did they ever, like, do you ever remember them arguing with your parents to try to intervene?
Yeah. I remember this one time where my Aunt Lisa, like, got on my mom, like, hardcore, like, Patricia, if you ever effing give her, like, pills so you can go out and party and this, that, and the third, like, I swear to God, like, I'm gonna kill you, like, stuff like that. Like, I remember that, and I'm like,
Do you think
medicine.
Yeah, so do you think, like, your mom probably gave you, like, Benadryl, like, go to sleep, it's time for...
I don't remember, but then, like, later on in life, my aunt told me, like, yeah, Lex, like, you'd be knocked out for, like, a whole day cold. Like, I don't know what she was giving you, but, like, a whole day. I'm like...
And so, I mean, when people say that, right, because, like, people have said different things, like, even to myself, like, about when I was a child and stuff, and I'm like, well, why the fuck did you not just come and grab me and take me?
Right.
Like, why did you not take me? Like,
Right.
what was going on? You know, or why, when you
too.
see things, or I hear people say stories, like, why did you not just go grab that child? Let the cops come to your house, why don't you just go, like, do you ever feel that way sometimes? Like, why did you not just grab me? Like, if I was, like, you saw something was going on, like...
Yeah. But then at that time, like, a lot of my other family members that were seeing it were also, like, going through addiction and stuff.
Okay, so do you feel like an addictive gene kind of runs through the family a little bit?
For sure.
Yeah.
Like,
does that make you kind of scared with certain things, like ever like drinking or, you know, stuff like that? Do you ever feel kind of like, damn, I don't ever want to fall off the bandwagon in that sense?
I have fell off the bandwagon, actually. So I know what it is, like, and I know how it feels to be completely submerged into addiction. Like, it's...
So you've suffered from it also?
Yeah, and like, I don't know.
Take your time, boo.
So,
it's okay, take your time.
So whenever I was, I'm gonna say like around 10, like around that age, my grandfather and my Aunt Lisa both passed away at the same time, like, and they were both like people that raised me.
Yeah.
So like I fell off the deep end for like a while.
So do you feel like that was like your first emerge into, was it like heavy, were you like into heavy drugs, or are we talking just like marijuana?
I feel like that's where it all started, and then it got worse.
Okay,
Like,
do you want to
over
like,
years.
I mean, do you want to elaborate, like what was like your first introduction into something a little heavy?
It was marijuana.
Was it marijuana?
Oh,
It's
yeah.
always, they say it's always a gateway drug, right? You guys, I'm actually going to just read a couple comments really quick, Lex, while you're talking here. So yes, everybody's saying that they're so proud of you right now. So I want you to feel proud of yourself too. Okay. And this is going to be very difficult. So anybody who is tuning in, just know like Lex is keeping it 100% real right now. So everything that she's telling you is completely from her. Okay. I think that she thinks that I said Alexa, which is funny, but I didn't. Okay. So yeah, so definitely make sure you're tagging, reposting this. You know, this is something that's kind of huge for her. It's a huge growth moment. So we just want to keep this as raw as possible, and I want you to feel as comfortable as possible. So if you don't want to answer anything, you just say, it's okay, Elaine, no. So marijuana, it started with marijuana, and was it just like, was that just kind of easing the pain of losing the loved ones that you had at that time? Like, was that?
I think it just made me forget, like.
You were just kicking it. It was like a kicking moment, like free, fun.
Yeah, and that was like years, like probably 5 years after I was separated from my parents. My father had already passed away from addiction, and then I was just really angry just at the world, and I was just mad that I didn't have parents, and like all the other kids had parents. I hear stuff all the time like, well, that's why your parents are drug addicts, like. That's why you don't have a dad. Like,
and did you ever wonder how people knew these certain things, or was it something that?
No, like, but kids would say it in school. Like, it's just like it blew my mind. Like, how do you know this? Like,
yeah, that's actually kind of crazy. Kids are very cruel, and that's where it takes a lot of like, you know, parenting to make sure that your kids know that certain things they say can actually hurt and damage people.
Right. So, well, now that I'm older, like, I'm obviously realizing that, like, parents probably talked, like, and I was probably the kid, like, wow, that kid's like, wow. Like,
yeah, no, you know, and I mean, maybe kids do hear their parents talk, you know, but I think that sometimes they just say mean stuff just to say it. I really do. I feel like they just say mean shit sometimes. So after you kind of like how old were you? So you said you were 10 when you jumped into like marijuana?
Yeah.
That's young. That's young.
Yeah.
Like, where were you getting it from? Were you like, was it like older people, older kids?
Like older kids.
So did you always kind of hang out with like an older crew?
Yeah.
Older crew?
Yeah. I really did. Like, I always have been that way.
But you had to grow up fast.
I was always like rushing my life.
Yeah.
I feel.
I can empathize with that one.
Yeah. But, so yeah, I started with that, and then I got in more to like drinking by like 12.
So yeah, that's early. That's
13.
early on. That's early on.
That's what I'm saying.
And it changes you emotionally. So, like, I've dealt with people in my close circle who were addicts, you know, like really close circle. And you don't continue to like emotionally grow when you start to like put all of that stuff into your body and everything like that, especially at a young age, you know. So as you get older, you start handling things still as like a kid, even though you're like your body's growing older, you know, your mind.
I've seen that.
And everything else. So I mean, 12 is very early, and you were going through a lot of pain. Now at 12, were both of your dad had just passed. Now was your mom still living at that time?
My mom was still alive, but she only ever contacted me like every 3-4 years, like just to randomly call me and tell me the same spiel, like, Lexi, we're all gonna be a family one day. Riri is gonna be fine. Like, I'm gonna get a house. I'm getting clean again. Like,
was it like a broken record too?
Yeah. Now at this point, it's like.
Were you ever? So I know you said you jumped from like your family members. Were you ever like taken by the state and taken into like foster care?
Almost, but
almost. Okay, so and that's huge because you know, even though I commend a lot of foster parents, there are a lot of really bad foster homes that could have potentially just like
thinking about it now, like I'm like, wow, like it could have been way worse. Even though it was already bad, like it could have been way worse.
Yeah, for sure. Now, is your mom still alive now?
Yeah, my mom is still alive.
She is still alive. Okay. Do you have contact with her like to date now that like because you're a mom now, right? And you're expecting, so this has to like take a toll on how you parent too. Like your parenting, you probably are like so self-conscious with parenting because of what you went through.
For sure.
So I could probably say that you don't spank, because a lot of people who have gone through some traumatic things don't, and stuff like that.
I mean, he might give her like a little pat on the butt here and there, but like, no.
I'm a spanker. Like, I am. I'm just gonna tell you guys, like, hey, if you need it, you get it over here. But
I mean, she's still too little. Like, I really just like, no, like I can't. She's too cute.
You seem like a great mom. So how has this affected you, before we kind of jump back into childhood, how has this affected you parenting wise? Like, what does this make you feel like when you think, like, do you ever stop and say, like, I never want to be like this? Or like, what do you feel?
Well, with me, it's like, I never want my kid to see me overusing like anything, or like see drugs, or like see like mommy's drunk all the time, or like that's just normal. Like just recently, like I want to say 6 months before I got pregnant, I actually gave up drinking like completely.
Wow.
So it was like, that was like huge for me. Like, my husband's in awe. Like, but it's like, I am like sure that I just want to live like soberly completely. Like,
is it because you're fearful, kind of?
It's like that, but like it's always in the back of your head, like, well, if I'm doing this, like, am I still an addict? Like, or is there something wrong with me? Like, I don't want to feel like I need this. Like, I don't need an outlet. I can just do it by myself.
Can anybody empathize with that? Does anybody, like, if you know anyone who has been through that, like, it's tough. Like, I'll tell you honestly, like, everyone knows in my past relationship I dealt with someone who was an addict as well. And like, say I'm like really stressed, you come home stressed, and you're like, I'm like, man, sometimes you're like, I need a freaking drink. Like, I just need to sit down and have a drink, right? But I never do it, you guys. Like, anytime that I'm stressed, I absolutely never ever do it, because I remember that was like a key trigger for somebody who was an addict. Now, I've never been an addict, okay? I'm not saying that I ever have. Oh, someone's calling her. I'm not saying that I never have or anything. I've never like indulged in like, I don't really think I have an addictive personality of that type, like, I'm not saying like I've never smoked marijuana. I was a teenager at one point, I've done that. Really, it's the only thing I've done besides drinking. But I'm always self-conscious like that. I think anytime you deal with an addict, or if you have been addicted at any point, you kind of are always self-conscious. So I've gone to like those Al-Anon classes and things like that, and with my, with my previous relationship, I tried to be like the backbone and the strong part, but I had to also realize that it was like tearing me down, and I didn't even have any of the addiction issues, but it was like tearing me down. So I had to walk away, but I am self-conscious now. So like, I don't just go have a drink if I'm stressed. I'm like, nope, I don't have a drink, because I don't want to create that bad habit. It becomes a bad habit, and I just don't ever want to do that. So like you, I'm actually self-conscious, but because of a different reason, so if anybody can relate, definitely drop some hearts for Lexi, because that's something that's like a huge thing to say, like, you know what, I'm done, I'm not drinking anymore.
Yeah.
That's huge. That's huge, especially after going through that. So you don't want your kids to see that, which is awesome, and you're not downing anybody who does do whatever they do, but do you ever feel like, have you ever had that moment of reaching out to your mom and saying, like, I'm a mom now, and I
actually just did that.
Did you? How did that go? Do you want to elaborate on that?
2 months ago, I think. Yeah, I did do that, actually. So, I guess my sister reached out to me first, and she was like, Mom's living with me again, right?
And how old is your sister?
She's like 20, in her late 20s.
In her late 20s. And now, has she always been close with your mom? Like, is there only a rift between you guys? Do you guys have the same mom and dad, or is it just...
We have the same mom.
Okay. So...
All of me and my siblings have the same mom, but like different dads.
Okay. That's like the same thing with me and my siblings. We kind of all have different dads. So, did she stay with your mom even when you were taken?
Yeah.
She did? Yeah. She did. How did that come up as like a decision?
Well, she went to live with her dad for a while, but then he actually died, so... Yeah, there's a lot of that in this family. Yeah. But then she went back with my mom, I think. But yeah, that went pretty bad for her, actually.
So do you think it was a little worse for her?
Probably way more than me. and probably remembers it way better.
Is she older than you?
Yeah.
She's older than you. Okay. So when she called you and she said, "Hey, mom's living with me," what was your first like?
It's gonna be another few months before she just dips out again.
That was like your first reaction, like, "Oh, she's only there for a minute, like
Yeah.
a minute, and she's gonna be gone."
Yeah. Yeah.
So, did you call your mom?
I didn't call her. I actually sent her a very long message because I just didn't even want to have that conversation, like hear her voice. I didn't want to hear it again.
Does it still hurt you?
I want to say no, but I know it does.
It does.
Like it'll always just hurt.
What did you kind of say, if you want to elaborate just a little bit? Like, what was your feeling? Like, if she's watching this, right? Let's
Yeah.
just say that at one point she might very well watch this. Like,
Right.
when you said those, when you texted her what you texted her, you know, what did it feel like when you were saying it to her?
It felt like I was finally like making peace, like with like a large part of my life that like I felt like I really needed to actually fully forgive her, because for like a long time, like,
Just take a breath, baby.
ooh,
I'm here. Don't worry. We got tissue and everything, girl.
because like for a long time I was just so mad, like I felt like she ruined my life, and like I finally just put it to bed. Like,
Did you tell her that? Did you say like, "Hey, I feel like you ruined my life. Like, you took some things away from me that I can't get back. Like, I'm
pretty
completely
much,
different."
yeah. Like, but I like told her I found God, like, and He's awesome, and like I really feel like I need to forgive you because it's gonna really affect my future if I don't. Like,
How did it feel after harboring that for so many years, Lex, to be able to finally say that to somebody that hurt you?
it felt so releasing. Like, it felt like I could finally move on. Like, I felt like I've been stuck on it for so long that like it just felt so good to just let go. Like, I'm not gonna be mad at you anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna do that for me, like not for you, because you have to live with that. But like, I'm forgiving you. Like, I don't have any hate or like nothing towards you. Like, I wish the best for you. Like, I hope we really one day like do get it together and like we can have a relationship. But for now, like, I'm forgiving you and I'm letting it like rest where it is.
That's deep.
Yeah.
That's deep, and that's
Really,
like,
really deep.
do you ever regret not being able to do that with your dad?
Oddly enough, like, there's been certain times where like I got mad at the thought of him, but like,
Because he's gone, it feels different, huh?
yeah,
Yeah.
like I never really hated him. I feel like it was like my mom. Like,
Well, because I think that everybody kind of, like, even though dads are supposed to be protectors, I feel like everybody looks to their mom to make sure that everything else goes in line. Like, when you think about your own children, right, or your one child and your soon-to-be
Yeah.
baby, even if dad messes up, you're still there to cook dinner.
right,
You're still there to
Yeah.
make sure that everything's okay. Even if you guys argue and you guys go storm your separate ways, or you go for a drive, you don't drive around and say, "Hey, let's sleep under a tree." You're like,
Right.
"Let's go to McDonald's," you know, and
Yeah,
you know, that
yeah,
type of
yeah,
thing.
for sure.
So, I mean, I feel that deeply. Sometimes releasing that is like the biggest, like, let go, which is why we're doing this today.
Yeah.
This is the biggest let go for
Yes.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the biggest let go for you. Did she text back?
She actually did, but it sounded like the broken record again.
Did it?
So it was like I didn't even message back, and then she messaged me on Mother's Day. And
Does it keep? Oh, I think someone messaged her. Let me see. I don't know what's going on with her little thing here.
I think you can put it on like a mode where like nobody can call you.
Yeah, I don't know why hers keeps doing that, but we can download this one too, so we can keep them both.
All right. Where were we at again? Did I text
It's
back?
broken. Yeah, broken.
No, I
record.
didn't. I didn't text back actually. Because like, there wasn't like even like a sorry or like nothing. So it was like
She didn't even say sorry.
no. So I was like, yeah.
It was just kind of like full of shit. Like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
You're just saying what you want to say to make yourself feel better
Yeah,
at this point.
Pretty
Yeah.
much. So there was that, and then she texted me on Mother's Day, like, thank George for keeping you safe and like being the best guy ever and like helping you turn your entire life around. Like, I had to take a step back from you to make sure that you'd stay on the right track. Like, I was like, what is that? How does that even mean? Like, what is that? I don't even understand you at this point.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, because I mean, in all reality, when someone says that, especially your parent, you're like, how do you take a step back from your child? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you never expect your parents to take a step back from you, even as adulthood. Like, could you see yourself from Eliana taking a step back from her?
Never.
Like, you know,
no matter
what
she do.
Yeah,
like,
no matter what you do, no matter what you go through, like, I'm gonna be there. And I feel like I feel you. I feel you on that 100%. So traveling back to your addiction road, right?
Yeah.
Like, because now you're way more self-conscious about addiction. Because not only are you older, but you're also a mom. So now you keep everything in perspective. When you were spiraling and you started indulging, like, what is the hardest drug that you ever tried?
I want to say Xanax. I feel like Xanax was the worst part of my life.
So was it more like prescription drugs?
They were the hardest Xanax that you could get. Like the most, like they were the green bars. They call them like Halts on the street. But like I think it was like 30 milligrams. Like.
And were you taking like whole ones? Like
I was taking like the whole thing. Sometimes 2 to 3 at a time.
Did you have moments where you don't remember stuff?
Yeah, like literally do not remember, and had people tell me like, yeah, you were like literally insane last night.
Really?
Yeah.
So when you were spiraling, were you ever conscious that like you're like I'm turning into an addict, like I'm going down the same road? Were you ever conscious of that, or were you so under the influence that it didn't even faze you at that point?
I feel like something in me like was like,
slow down.
You're getting bad, but like the other part was like, F it. Like,
it feels good. Like it feels good.
I feel unstoppable. I feel free. Like I feel like I don't have to worry about nothing. I feel like I have no responsibility. Like yeah, it was like kind of just let go of everything, and that was actually right after I got terminated from my boarding school senior year. Right before I got my $80,000 scholarship.
Wow.
So that was really whenever I was just like, F the world.
Yeah, for sure. And you didn't even care. Did it faze you that you got kicked out of boarding school with that $80,000? Did that even faze you?
It killed me at first, but then once I like started back into like really heavily using drugs, it was like, it's whatever.
Yeah, it's whatever.
We're fine. Yeah. Look at that. We're good. We're still in college.
Do you regret it to this day?
Yeah, a lot. That was my worst moment, like, ever. Like, I don't even want to remember that period of my life. Like, I wish I could just erase it.
Do you want to say what got you kicked out?
Can
you legally say? Like, was it
true?
Like,
Yeah. Well, I've already gotten, like, I didn't get anything for that, but, like, getting kicked out, like, that was my punishment. They couldn't technically do anything to me legally because I was on private property. But yeah, it was actually selling drugs in school.
So you also indulged in making money off of drugs too.
Yeah.
So you weren't only spiraling on your own. Now
were you? I really feel like my parents just screwed me.
Yeah, I mean, and they opened your eyes into a world that you shouldn't have been open to.
Yeah,
and so you jumped into that world and you were young, and then you kind of just stayed on that track because you didn't know anything different. And that's sometimes when we're raised a certain way and we don't see the light of anything different, we kind of stay on that same track until someone grabs us and says, oh, no, honey, let's look in this direction because that light is completely different.
Right.
So, okay, so how did you get caught?
I actually don't know.
Somebody snitched.
I think
Somebody
so. I think
That's
so.
What happened. Somebody snitched. Somebody said, Lex is selling, she's making money and I'm not getting a cut of that, and that's typically
yeah.
That's typically how some of that happens. So did you deny it at first? Like, did you try to like go the route of like denial?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
How did that happen? Like, did you tell me what it felt like? Like, did they initially, like, how did it happen? Were you sitting in your dorm and like they came and grabbed you, or were you in class? Really?
Yes.
So tell me
in the middle of the night.
Oh, really?
In the middle
were
of
you
the
sleeping?
night. No, I think I was just relaxing in my bed. But like, yeah, in the middle of the night, like 8, 9 o'clock, like they came into my room, like my TL staff, they sat me down in the office. They're like, so we know what you're doing. I'm like, who are you talking about?
Yeah, like,
what are you, like what, go to school?
Yeah.
And then, the the other TL staff person actually started going through my room. Like, well, I didn't know because I wasn't there.
Was it in your room?
No. I had just sold everything that I had.
Wow, so you had no evidence of anything either.
Yeah. So that happened, and then they sent me off to like the medical center of the school so they could figure out everything, I guess.
So did they drug test you there too?
No.
So they didn't care if you were using, they just cared if you were selling.
Yeah.
That's almost like really biased. I feel like they should have also looked out for your health as well and been like, oh, you're using what's in your program. You know what I mean? Like.
But so while I was in the medical center, they couldn't find anything on me, like to kick me out right away. But they found out something on my friend, and she got terminated before me.
And she told on you, you think?
I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know like anything.
So you had an accomplice with this?
Slightly, yes.
Yeah.
Well, it was somebody that lived closer, like in the area. That like I couldn't go home because I lived 5 hours away. Yeah. So how am I gonna? Yeah. So then that happened. They actually let me free to go back to school, and then I told like a teacher that was like a parent to me what had really happened, and then she felt obligated to like a
mandated reporter.
Yeah, and then I actually basically ratted myself out like an idiot.
It could have been your conscience. Actually, can you go see what he needed in the garage, please?
Yeah.
So it could have been your conscience, kind of on you, like, and that could have been God too, because imagine if you would have kept going.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Okay, so you get kicked out. Now at this point, who sent you to boarding school?
My grandparents.
Okay, so were you like upset to even tell them? Like, were you like, damn, they're gonna know that, or was it kind of like, oh, they already know who I am type thing? Like, what was it?
It was disappointing to tell them, but it was like, it wasn't something that was going to be surprising. They were going to be like, well, you're an idiot again. Like, congratulations, you just messed up your life even worse.
Did you like the boarding school? Or was it like kind of
it was a love-hate relationship because...
Was it all girls?
No.
Oh, it wasn't?
No.
Wow, okay.
But it was, I was exposed to a lot of things that I'll be like thankful for like the rest of my life. Like a lot of that school was like majority of like minorities.
Wow.
So if I wasn't in that school, like I probably would have never made the relationships that I did. Like never had the views on life that I did. Like never grew up like.
Because Pennsylvania is primarily Caucasian, right? It's primarily white and country kind of, right? Like woods and stuff like that.
Yeah. I didn't even want to talk about it. I would have grown up with a whole different like
outlook.
Like everybody in the school that I was in whenever I was in PA, like was like, I don't want to say hillbilly, but
no, for sure it is. It's very country. So anybody who knows like Pennsylvania, it's kind of like and they're tight knit communities all over.
Oh, yeah.
So it's and I think there's even some Amish communities going on over there, isn't there?
It's
like a lot of them.
It's like in Lancaster, but like the school that I was going to was near Harrisburg, so like it was like right near the hood.
So there was a lot more minorities in this boarding school.
Oh yeah. So I definitely got a feel for all that, all the
so
culture.
Was this boarding school more for like behavioral issues? Like was this where like people sent their kids when like you guys are just acting up all the time and it's time to go to boarding school type stuff? Is that kind of what this boarding school was? Or was this like a preppy, like I'm gonna pay? Okay.
No, not at all. Like, it was like, they called it underprivileged kids. So
okay.
That was what they said. Pretty much.
Yeah, it's for the kids that they feel like they didn't want to bother.
Yeah.
Were you in trouble a lot before boarding school? Like, was that the decision making from your grandparents that you were in school and you were just messing up?
Yeah.
Did you not care about school or were you bored?
No, the funny part is that I was always a straight A student my
Were you?
entire time being in school.
So what kind of trouble would you get in? Was it like talking back with the teachers or fights at school? Like what exactly?
Talking back, always not listening, doing whatever I want. Like a lot of like my behavioral issues were at home. I feel like I was just really
So it was hard for your grandparents to have you at home more so than anything.
Yeah.
Were you like sneaking out and doing stuff like that? Because you were already kind of using at that time,
I
right?
didn't start. Oh yeah, never mind. Yeah.
Yeah. So was it easier? Because I feel like when you're raised by grandparents, it's totally different than being raised by parents. Addict or not, right? So like with grandparents, it's like they almost don't want to see.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So they let a lot more go because they don't want to see it. They'd rather just see like when you're in their face and you're doing good things, and that's what they focus on, because that's what grandparents are supposed to do, right? They're supposed to be the uplifters and stuff like that. So do you find like it was easier for you to spiral living with them because it was easier to hide it?
Yeah.
Versus a parent to be like, nope, I'm searching your room every day. You're in the house at this time. Don't play with me. You want to play with me? I'm sending you to rehab. Like, because I feel like me as a parent, like I tell my kids all the time, like, let me find out you're doing something and it's gonna be like hell to pay in this house. I will be a warden all day. Like, and
I feel that so hard. Like I feel
that's part of it where I'm kind of like, my kids, one of their dads is an addict, so you potentially could have that addictive gene in your body, so you have to be mindful of that, and I have to be mindful of that as your parent, and that's where it goes, so
I feel like my aunt used to like tell me that so much as a kid though, like you gotta like can't do this, like you can't do
it made
this.
you want to.
Yeah
Like, and see, and I think that's where like the happy medium comes. Like you can't be too hard on them when they're not doing something, you know, and then you can't expect them to. Like, I feel like any parent, whoever sits here and expects that their kids are never going to try anything is almost naive. I feel like that's a very naive feeling as a parent. So I don't keep that naive quotient inside of me. It's more so like, at some point you're going to want to try something. But if I feel like you feel that you're ready enough to try something, then you should be ready enough to talk to me about it.
Yeah, I agree with
and
that.
I kind of keep that like that level where it's like, even if you've messed up, if you're honest with me, I'll go to bat for you, and
I can agree with that.
Me and you will. I might still be pissed off at you. You might still get punished by me, but it won't be to the degree where it could be. You know what I mean? Because it's hard enough to be honest. So I feel like a lot of times my kids are too honest with me. Sometimes I'm like, why did you? Now I have to know this, and now I have to be conscious of this. But at the same time, it's like that's what I asked for. That's what I asked for. So even when it's kind of ugly and they're honest, I'm like, I think I'm doing a good job. Because
I totally agree with that.
You know what I mean?
I totally agree with that, for sure. That's the parent dream.
Yeah, and then they're kind of like you too. So when kids have lived in like a household where there is somebody who is an addict, they're very self-conscious with that. So they're like, I don't ever really want to do that. Like that scares me. And I'm like, I don't want to be like, yes, good. But at the same time, I'm like, yes, okay. Okay, cool. Just focus on this because that's what you got to focus on.
Right.
Do you feel like you'll have these talks with your daughter as she gets older? Do you think that you'll let her know, like, do some parents let people know, like, who they were? Some parents tend to not do that. Like, do you feel like you will?
I'm still, like, torn about this. Like, I've gone over it 1,000 times in my head. Like,
now, I know you were nervous coming in here because there was a lot more that you wanted to talk about in here.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not tiptoeing around it, but I kind of want to open up to say that, these next few things that me and Lex talk about are going to be some of the most difficult things that she has had to speak about, and some of the most scariest, right? So let's just kind of go down this train of, you got kicked out of boarding school now, right? What was your next move?
I actually still went to college anyway.
So don't call her a statistic. She still went to college, y'all. You better drop some hearts for this girl. She still went to college.
So I graduated high school by finishing out by homeschooling myself. And then I went to college. That's where my spiraling really got haywire. Like, I was passing all my classes with flying colors, but I wasn't showing up to class. I was selling drugs again. Like, I was doing drugs again. I was doing like the Xanax, drinking, doing lean, all at the same time. Like, smoking, like anything that you could probably imagine. I was probably doing it. Not heroin. I mean, you never do that.
Were you scared? Were you scared of heroin? Was there like a thing, a stigma that made you scared of that?
That has always been like never an option, like
so
ever.
Let me ask you this, and it's a little deeper. Is that what your parents were doing?
Yeah.
And that's why?
Yeah.
That's why, yeah.
It was always that, and my dad really liked crack. So like it was like those two were like,
absolutely
those are
not.
Never. Like,
because those scared you because of the addiction.
Oh yeah.
And what you went through.
Oh,
so
yeah.
you were like, these are okay, but those are like nevers.
Yeah. Yeah. Really.
So what, like, did you finish college?
So after a year, I dropped out because I didn't realize that, like, even though I'm passing my classes, not going to class is a whole different grade, and it was starting to make me, like, my grades slip. I even failed, like, 2 classes, not because of my grades, but because I wasn't going. So I was like, you know, I'm not even gonna get in debt for this, and I'm just gonna stop.
What were you going to college for?
Psychology.
Wow.
Yeah.
What made you choose that field?
Because of my childhood. Oh yeah. I've always like loved like talking to people, and like I always feel like I can, like I'm really like an empath. Like I
think you really are too. I mean, our first physical meeting, we were there for a long time, and we talked for a long time, right? We talked for a long time. It was very open. It was very comfortable. I've always kind of felt comfortable with you. So I feel like you do definitely have that empath energy where you can definitely, you know, transmit that off to people.
Yeah.
Sure. So you decided to quit.
Yep.
What did you do after that? Now, how old are you at this point?
I was 18.
18. So 19. So
18.
you kind of
18. No, I was 18.
18. Okay.
And while I was in college, I actually got into this relationship that has changed my life forever.
Okay.
So he was abusive. The first time it happened, it was like right before he went to jail. So it was like he beat me, spit in my face, told me he was gonna kill me, and then went to jail. I was like,
did he go to jail because of that?
No, it was for something completely different.
Okay, but it was just kind of like a godsend that he went to jail after you got beat up.
And that's whenever I really spiraled, and then the exams happened and all that. That's whenever it really happened.
How long were you with him?
6 months.
6 months. How often was the abuse in the whole 6 months?
After that, he went to jail for like a couple months, and then whenever he got out, this is a hard part.
Okay.
This is really hard. So whenever I had dropped out, I was homeless for a while, and I didn't have anywhere to go, so I went to a friend's house, and I couldn't keep up my waitressing job because it was 30 minutes away, and I didn't have my own car, so I was using my friend's car, who needed to go to work also. So I was like, you know what? Went to go live with another friend, and then became a dancer. So after that, I felt like, hallelujah, like I'm doing it big, like I'm finally making money for myself and take care of myself. Like nobody can tell me nothing. Like nobody can tell me nothing. Like my family can't tell me nothing. My friends can't tell me nothing. I'm finally doing it. And then he came back.
And then he came back. It always happens that way.
And then he came back. But yeah, so then I went to live with him and his dad, and I was still dancing. And that's where it popped off. Like,
was he abusive during that time?
Hella.
All the time?
All the time, dude.
What kind of abuse did you endure with him?
I'm just gonna give one story because that's all it takes. But I remember this one time, him like hitting me in the head with a shoe and then like smacking me around a little bit, and then he told me that he was gonna kill me like after I like ran out of the apartment because I was screaming like help. Like and then he told me to get back in. He threw me back in the apartment. He went and got a knife, and then that's whenever I ran into the bathroom, locked myself from one end, and there was two sides of the freaking bathroom, so like I remember just being like, feeling like I'm in like a horror movie, like I'm about to die, like I'm literally about to die right now, like. So I locked myself on the other side, and he's running around to go to the other side of the bathroom, and I'm like fidgeting with the door, like I'm like lock, like. But yeah, like, and then I had to call his dad while I was in the bathroom and tell him, like, your son's trying to kill me, like, can you please come home and like let me leave, like, because I'm scared.
Did he try to break through the door?
He hit it a few times, but like then he just kind of like left. Like I don't know where he went or like what. I don't know.
Was that your last time with him?
Yeah.
That scared you enough that
Yeah.
was it?
Yeah.
That's scary. That's definitely scary.
Yeah.
Do you think his dad knew that there was abuse going on?
Oh no, he definitely knew.
He just never intervened. It's almost like when you ask for help and no one ever helps.
Yeah.
Like when you ran out of the house that day that you were running, where you were screaming for help.
Yeah.
You're almost positive somebody hears you screaming, right? So like when
and like nobody ever came.
yeah,
like,
and no one ever comes. Like I've been through abuse, so I know that. Like you run outside, you're screaming. Everybody's sat in their house before, right? And you've heard like a noise. Your first inkling is to get up and look out of the window.
Yeah.
So you get up, you look out of the window, and you see a woman like Lex being dragged back into a house, and no one ever comes.
Yes. Yeah.
That's hurtful.
It was even worse because it was an apartment complex.
Yeah, so you know.
So I'm screaming in the hallway, like there's so many people there, like not one could even call the cops. Like the cops never came. Like I don't know.
And this is where out of sight, out of mind has to stop, you guys. Domestic violence kills so many men and women throughout the year that it is your due diligence at some point to just call the cops. Just call the cops. Save somebody's life by that. Imagine if Lex couldn't have got that door shut. She wouldn't be sitting here today. She wouldn't be having her second child.
Ooh.
That's deep. You know, that's super deep. There's so many women who have gone through what you have gone through. Like, if someone was listening today, what would you say to her? If this is her only hope, her only outlet. She's on Facebook right now, Lex. And
leave the first time. Oh my God, leave the first time because it will never change. It will never change, and they're never sorry. Like, yeah, for sure, leave the first time.
So, you ran out of that house. Did you get your stuff? Like, did you even take time to get your stuff, or did you just dip?
So he stayed there. His dad stayed there while I packed my stuff, and then I had one of my dancer friends come and get me, and then I lived with my dancer friend, where I eventually got robbed.
That's a lot.
It's like
the lifestyle's different, so you have to be prepared for that lifestyle too.
Oh yeah. What is it? But the whole reason why me and him got into that, I need to tell somebody this because this is the most ridiculous thing ever. But the reason why that time even happened was because I went through his phone and I realized that on his birthday I had given him money, and that day he went out and he bought himself a prostitute.
And you're like, what the hell?
Like, what? With my money?
Yeah.
I had to get that one out because that was ridiculous.
Which is crazy because at the same time I could assume that you guys were intimate with each other. So you're kind of like, why do you even need a prostitute, right? Like that's the things that go through your head, right? You know, and some people are addicted to different things that they like. And, and that's understandable too.
Oh yeah. But then I went to go live with my girlfriend. And then, by the grace of God, here's where it all starts coming up. Then I met my husband.
And how did you guys meet?
In the club.
He was like, that one's mine. That one's mine.
I actually went up to him, and while he was buying me a drink, I don't know why, he just gave me some vibes like I needed to talk to him, and it was like never like it was anybody else. Like it wasn't like, oh, here we go again.
Yeah.
Person. Like, it was like, I don't know why, but I need to talk to him. Like, I don't know, I need to know who he is. And then I went up to him, and he was buying a drink, and the bartender just gave him his cash, and then I took his cash and put it in my bra, and he just looked at me, and he smiled. And that's when I knew.
So
That's what I do.
at this time, were you still kind of using and stuff like that? Were
No,
you still,
I wasn't using
you
at
were
all.
sober at this time.
I was completely sober.
But you were still drinking. You just weren't doing
I was
drugs.
drinking like seldomly, and I was probably I was smoking weed.
Smoking weed, which is the lesser of the evils. I know
Yeah.
a lot of people smoke weed now,
I wasn't getting
studies have shown it's not that bad, right? So no judgment here. And if anybody ever wants to say anything about Lex's venture into the club, her man already knows about it, so we can just nip those rumors in the bud now.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I just thought I would say that since everybody likes to take stuff and run with it.
Oh yeah.
You know, so you wanted to get to know him. Was it like an instant attraction?
Yeah.
Yeah, you were instantly attracted.
Yeah.
You were like, that's mine too.
Yeah. I don't know what it was, but like, yeah, I just knew. And then, I think I was still with the abuser. That hadn't happened yet. It happened 2 days after I met him.
Okay, so you just kind of met him. You were like, oh, I just want to talk to him. It was nothing serious. You guys just had a talk. He was just another person that came into the club at that time, but you were attracted. And
Yeah.
that was it. Okay.
And then, so I guess he felt the same way because he came back a second day, even though he was like a truck driver. He was supposed to leave like that
And
day,
he
but he
still
came
came
back to see me again. And that's when I was like, what is going on here?
Now this time you're getting abused. You go to work. No one ever knows that you're going through this abuse. You hide it. I'm sure bruises, makeup, all of that good stuff, right?
Well, yeah. And then, like the first time I met him, he had bought a room with me, and the whole time we spent like talking about like our lives. Like,
Yeah.
it wasn't even like a room. Like, it was like we're just.
So he's like, I
talking.
want some private time with you, and then you guys just sit there and talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he came back the next day and bought another one.
Yeah, so he's like, I like this girl and I want to talk to her.
And then that's when I gave him my email and my Snapchat, but I gave him serious instructions. Do not message me. If anything ever happens, I'll message you.
So, did you kind of tell him that you were in an abusive relationship at that time?
Like thoroughly.
That you were scared for your life, kind of.
And then the day after the second time that he came to see me, that happened. And then that's when I moved into my friends. Like, but
So
he had
you
already
moved
gone
out.
back to
So
Wisconsin.
now you moved out of this house again, or this other place, and now you're moved into your friends where you
Yeah.
got robbed.
Yeah.
So now you're living there. You've met George, right?
Uh-huh.
So now you're in this house. You're living with another dancer, and I assume that her lifestyle might have been a little even different than yours.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So now you're trying to like just gather yourself, and at the same time, I can probably say that you were trying to hold it all together because now you like this guy, and this guy's cool, and you don't ever want to come across as like I have all these issues.
Oh
Like, I have
yeah.
all these issues going on.
Oh yeah.
We always try to hide some of our real stuff from the person that we first meet because we're like, oh my God, if they only know type stuff, you know. Okay, so then you're living there, you get a robbing incident. What happens after that?
Well, during that time, like he flew me out to go on vacation with him.
George did.
Yeah.
Okay, so George is spending bread to let you know that he likes you, right?
Oh yeah.
He's like, I like you. Like, it's not just about sex. It's not about money. I like your conversation. We sit here and we talk. And just to kind of kill that stigma, we're going to go ahead and address this now. A lot of people associate stripping with prostitution.
Oh yeah.
Okay, a lot of people do. And so we just need to nip that in the butt now. Never did you ever get paid for sex. Never did you ever indulge in that in any of the rooms or anything like that.
No.
We've talked about this previously, so yeah, I just wanted Lex to be able to voice that, like, that it was just all business, a dance here and there, get up on stage, and you went home.
Yeah. I like to tell myself, like, I had to have been one of the most well-behaved strippers, as well-behaved as they can be.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, just because you're doing that doesn't mean you don't have any morals or values. That's also another stigma that comes with it, you know.
If you're gonna do it, you have to have morals, and for sure. So then he flew me out, like, paid for everything, like, even though I had money.
Yeah, you had your own money at this time.
Right.
You were making money.
Exactly. So I had my own money. Like, I even offered to, like, pay for stuff here and there. And like, no. And I feel like that's what really, because like his friends at the time were like telling him like, dude, she's like a, you know what she is, right? Like, you need to be careful.
The stigma follows you.
She's probably trying to get you, like,
yeah.
And like I'm over here trying to like pay for stuff, and he's like, no, like that's how I know.
So
like,
you're trying to counteract that, like, no, I'm not here for his money either. I genuinely like him. I have my own bankroll. I don't need his.
Sure.
Yeah,
for sure. And so then we were doing like this long distance thing for a while. He came out to see me for a while, and then like we went shopping, and I gave him like my whole stack of bread, and like I was like, put it in your pocket so I can just like be like, can I have some money, Daddy, at the register, like just to make him feel good, like some, you know what I mean? And then so it was like that back and forth for a while, and then one day we were both just like, why don't I come to live with you?
yeah, like you're spending so much time together,
right?
And you're no longer with the guy that's that was abusive, right?
No.
Like that was dead and
Long
gone
gone.
now. Yeah, long gone. So then you embark on moving in with him.
I moved 8 hours away to Wisconsin.
She moved here, you guys. She moved here, and from that point on, your life was what, on the up and up?
Kind of. We had found out that we were pregnant, and then we had 2 miscarriages before we actually like were able to have like a 3rd baby.
How do you feel about the miscarriages?
I feel like at this point, like I feel like at the time they were really.
Oh, hers is probably, it's okay, we'll leave that one.
I feel like it was really heartbreaking, like at the time, but like now it's like I have my babies. Like I feel like I try not to think about it, and like
it's still painful.
Yeah, like I feel like I just kind of repress that. And
sometimes you do. Sometimes you let it go.
Yeah.
Just so you know, it's nothing that you've ever done wrong. You know,
right.
And I know that that's probably something, because every woman who's ever had a miscarriage has thought that.
Right.
I mean, we all do that.
I definitely
did. And I want you to know, like, it's not anything that you ever did wrong. You know,
right.
So that's not something.
Yeah.
It just wasn't at the right time. You know?
Probably. But the 3rd one, that was what like really made me like. I was like, well, I'm done dancing. Like, this is it. Like, I'm gonna have this baby. This God is punishing me for this, and this is the reason why I can't have kids.
Did you feel that way? Did you feel like it was because you were in the club that you weren't able to carry?
Yeah. Honestly, I feel like God was like, well, whenever you show that you can be a mom, you can be a mom then.
Yeah. Well, I do think that it might have been for you to talk to someone else too that might go through many miscarriages. I have a lot of friends who go through many miscarriages all the time.
Right.
I myself have gone through a miscarriage, which is kind of weird because you just look at me and blink and I'm pregnant. You know what I mean? Like that's really
that's me.
It's that bad. It's that bad. But I too have gone through that, and it was still hurtful. I was only a few weeks in, and it was still hurtful.
Yeah.
You know, because I thought like, damn, what did I do wrong this time around? Like I've got 2, like this, you know, and so you've gone through several. So what would you say to someone who's trying, who is going through that heartbreak all of the time?
When the time is right, it'll happen. Like, that's the only thing I can say. Like, the timing has to be right. Everything, like, God's not just gonna give you a kid. Like,
you gotta be ready for it.
It's gotta be the time. And that doesn't mean like to say like you end up with the perfect guy, or like, because like a lot of the stories that like we actually have kids, like the dad's not in the picture, but like the time is right for you. Like that was a part of your journey that was to change your life.
For sure. Now I'm gonna ask you a really deep question. What would you say to a mom that's listening right now that might be an addict and knows that she's an addict and knows that maybe she's putting her child through some of the hell that you went through, and her child might feel the same way that you feel at your age at some point in time, but right now her child's suffering, and what would be something that you would tell that mom right now if she was listening, and possibly is? There might be someone on here that's listening to you and empathizing and saying, man, I never want my child to feel that way. Because sometimes the addiction is bigger than what they can grasp, right? So I almost feel, just for me to kind of started off is like, if you know you can't give up the addiction, I feel like give up your child. Like it's okay to, if there's a family member that's willing,
yeah, I can agree with that.
you know, so like what would you say if you could have a heart to heart with somebody right now and you could look her in the eye and she's like, you know, I'm addicted to this and I choose that over my child often.
I really just like ask them why you can't love your child more than the drug, like, because that's a question that I wanted to ask my mom just over and over and over again. So like, just to say it for the kid, like, why can't you love them more than the drug?
Do you feel that? Do you feel like your mom loved the drug more than you?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's like hard. Like, you literally ruin your kids' like entire like mental, like, they end up putting themselves through like to hell. Like, I don't know, like I could never do that to my kid after experiencing it from the opposite end.
Would you reach out and say, hey, if you're going through addiction, message you?
For sure.
Message you and say, hey, you know, if you have a child, you know, let's see if there's a grandparent. Let's see if there's an aunt or an uncle or a cousin or, you know.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely would.
Because a lot of times people always think that it's daddy issues with women, but we often suffer from mommy issues. It's equal. It's so equal.
Yeah.
You know, daddy issues stem to a certain part. Daddy issues stem to a part of like how we look at our partners a lot of times. But mommy issues stem to how we raise our kids. They stem to how we emotionally handle arguments. They stem to how we emotionally handle life.
Oh yeah.
As a woman.
That's
right?
So
and how we perceive other women and how we perceive other mothers. And you went through it. You went through it, Lex. You went through it and you're here. You know, and it was hurtful and your mom wasn't always there. You know, and you've gotten a chance to make that peace, but you now are conscious about everything you do as a mom.
For sure.
And you're an awesome mom. I've seen you. You know, you're an awesome mom. So I want you to hold that head high and know, like, in your heart, even though you went through that, your mom kept you in this place because you were kept in this place in your own mind. You pulled yourself out of addiction. You pulled yourself out of abusive relationships. You pulled yourself out of selling drugs. You pulled yourself out of all of that. So never, ever, ever at any point in time should you ever feel down on yourself because you came through it and now you're raising your daughter. You're breaking those generational curses of addiction. You're breaking those generational curses of not being loving, not choosing your children over anything. Because I look at you and I'm like, she's going to choose Eliana and that baby over anybody. She's going to choose that baby over George. She's going to choose Eliana and that baby over absolutely everyone. And I don't mean to make you cry, but I see the light inside of you. And that's why I feel like I was so honored to kind of have you on here to talk about everything, because you're glowing. Not only is she glowing because she's pregnant, but you're glowing because like you are truly a beautiful person, and everything that you went through was so you could sit here and someone else could listen to your story, love, and they can learn from it.
Right.
You know, so let's talk about the exciting parts now. So now you're doing YouTube.
Yeah.
And Instagram.
Yeah.
And you have a cosmetology license. So she went back to college, got her cosmetology license.
Yeah.
She's about to be a mom of 2, which your whole world is about to get rocked, girl.
Right. I know. I feel like my daughter is going to beat this kid's arse.
She's so used to being the only child right now.
Oh yeah.
Right? So she's got like only child syndrome.
She's very strong.
You're making her strong. You are being everything that you didn't get to her. And that's amazing, girl. Are your grandparents still here?
My grandma is.
So do you have a relationship with her?
Yeah. Over the years.
Is she proud of you?
I think so.
Yeah.
I like to think
Doesn't it feel good when they're proud of you like that? Like, you know, are you proud of yourself?
Yes.
Like, when you think about everything that you've gone through, like, do you ever just sit back and be like, wow, I'm like so proud of myself? Because I feel like that's important.
I've never been out of a hole so long. Like honestly, it just feels like I was just like torturing myself. Every next torture Like it's never gonna end.
You were living what you learned.
It's like I was like, it's never gonna end. And it's like, wow, it's been over for a while now. Like, yeah.
You broke those chains, girl.
And I'm not saying I'm perfect because there's a lot of stuff.
No, I for sure, yeah, we're not saying that, but we're saying that you're achieving things now. Now you have like a ton of YouTube followers, you have a ton of Instagram followers, you're working on your cosmetology, switching that over to Texas now, right? Like you do nails, you do hair, you do makeup, you're doing tutorials about makeup, like, you know, so what is the most exciting thing that you're looking forward to? Is it like the YouTube, the baby, is it like everything, or are you just living in a bubble of happiness now?
Yeah. It's just one big bubble of happiness, for sure. Can't wait for this baby to come.
How long are you, if you don't mind me asking now?
4.5 months.
4.5 months.
Yeah. So I can't wait for this baby to drop. But I'm just looking forward to like the YouTube like growing. Like it's already like grown pretty fast, but like I'm looking forward to like get bigger.
Yeah, for sure.
Way bigger. Like, and everything to just get bigger. And then once everything's big enough and I'm making my own like income off of all that, then I'm gonna start like my own cosmetic line.
Are you?
For sure.
So when you think, like, once you've made it to the top, like when you see yourself at this point at the top, what is one way that you're gonna turn around and give back to somebody? Like, what do you feel like you're gonna do?
I honestly have thought about this 1,000 times, like, and like two things just keep coming to like my mind. It's like I either want to like open up this school that like I went to, because like I really do like
a boarding kind of school, but like for kids who need it.
Less rules, not as strict, and like like put my beliefs into it, but like also I want to like go to like third world countries. I don't know why, for some reason, but like it really just resonates with me. I really want to go to like third world countries and like help with irrigation systems, help with schooling, help with like.
That's awesome.
That's an awesome way to give back.
That's an awesome way to give back. And there's like, I feel like there's a huge need for another school like that here in America. We have so many, I mean, we have a lot of kids that are in the foster system. Imagine if they could go to a boarding school instead of a foster system where it's a ton of kids just like them, where it's not in a household with foster parents that could potentially hurt them more, or you know what I mean, and everybody's going through a system. And not like jail, I'm talking about like a actual, like not juvenile, not that type of thing, but something where it's like, if they need therapy or therapeutic services, it's there. If they need someone to talk to, there's activities. They can get into any sport that can be looked at for scholarships. They can, you know, because that's what you were doing, right? You were like, you were ready to get a scholarship. Your grades were awesome.
Yeah, that blows.
That's okay, because you're on a different journey now.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure. So is there anything else that you want to touch base with the audience that you feel that you want to just let off so you're fully free, like it's a free for all?
If I could like say one thing, it would be like, no matter like how bad it gets, like it can always get better. Like,
it can always get better, for sure.
It can always get better, and like I wouldn't be able to do half of these things like if it wasn't for God, bro. Like for real.
So you're a firm believer in God. God
like,
pulled you.
He pulled me straight out.
That's awesome.
I feel like he gave me George, and like George was the key to everything else. Like here, like now, guys go to church, and like, everything just fell into place. Like
that's awesome. So I want to say thank you for sitting with me here in my living room. We're in my living room, guys. And saying all of this, and saying all of this live on Facebook.
Right.
Like, this is out there now. It's here. It's done. She lived her truth, so nobody can ever say anything about her that she hasn't said about herself at this point. And now you can just move on free. Free. And we'll be waiting if you drop a book about everything that's gone on and what you're doing. And, you know, if you ever want to do a second interview as you continue to go through success, whether you're in Texas or not, I would love to celebrate your success with you.
Awesome.
So I just want to thank Lex for coming on. I will make sure to drop all of her YouTube links and Instagram links down in the comments, as well as on my Elaine from Bad Moms Do It Better page. And I just want to thank her for coming. She came with Ileana. Ileana is playing with, you know, my daughter right now, and we had a really nice girl talk. I think this was a great girl time.
Yeah.
So one last question really quick for the hot seat is meeting a guy in the club, right? Meeting a guy in the club, were you scared?
Yeah. For sure.
Hot seat question number one. I have two of them for her.
My first thought was like after that and like him taking on me on vacation, it was like, you got a thing for strippers, don't you?
Yeah.
Like,
You can never go in there again.
you do this,
Yeah.
huh? Look at that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, strip clubs, no, we don't do that.
No,
Like,
not
that's
at
like
all. Yeah. So hot seat number two question: who's more romantic, you or George?
me.
So you're the romantic one.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you've always been very affectionate, or have you always been like an affectionate person?
Yeah.
I get that vibe from you.
I
definitely do.
do.
That's awesome. Well, I just want to thank Lex for coming on here, and you guys definitely tune in. We will have more with Lex to come. We appreciate you guys for coming. So y'all have a great day. Bye.